All praise and glory to the Most High. Hey, hey. Peace and blessings, everyone. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody is well. Like to thank all the indigenous truthers, everyone putting that indigenous truth out there, everyone that is, you know, doing their due diligence and research, trying to get us back to our Creator. Hey, hey. Uh, just want to share a couple of videos with you. Some word. Actually, a friend of mine, um, I got the requested that I read some information out of the Zondervans Bible Dictionary. For those of you who have heard some of the brothers, whether they be street preachers or whatever the case may be from the camps, or somebody that we all listen to on these YouTube channels, you hear them talk about when they give the definition of ham, which we know now is cham, per Lex Will, King Drop, Hiram Mark, and in the Septuagint it reads cham, but when it gives the definition of Ham being the progenitor of the dark races, and it says not the Negroes. That's in here. So I'll read that for you. Some of you may have, some of you are already familiar with that information. Some of you may have heard it, but you want to see the physical proof. I'm going to show it to you. All right. And just so you know, all right, see right here. Hopefully that'll come up proper. Get you a screenshot of that. That is the copyright. This was the copyright on here is 1964 or 1963, 1964, 1967 by the Zondervan Corporation. All right. So this was put together long before a lot of us was even born. Okay. Keep that in mind. All right. So I'm going to be reading a couple of things out of that. Once again, Zondervan's Bible Dictionary. So I'm just passing on information. I'm not the one who's claiming I found that information, because I heard it myself. I got a matter of fact, met a brother down in Dallas. That's how I came across this. Brother Yakub. Thank you, Brother Yakub. Appreciate it. But anyways, I'll be reading out of that. So, excuse me. What's going on, Beast Man? How you doing? Heard things are not going too well for you this day and age. Heard you dying. The Most High taking you on up out of here at a fast rate. Suicides, drug overdoses, death and destruction, hunger. Right? I was watching a couple of videos last week Lex Will put out before I left the house, where they starving in the UK. No food. Huh? I'm getting ready to show y'all a video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Just show you two of them. But I just want to say something. First of all, I just want to say, before I say the ill stuff I'm about to say, I know we shouldn't really celebrate someone's death. But you, Beast Man, you, and hold on, I'm only speaking to those of you who have that Beast Man inside of you. The ones who like to slaughter, rape, murder, steal people's land, steal people's natural resources, incarcerate people, on their own land, teach generations of children they from other continents. You, Beast Man, you I'm talking to. All right? So if the shoe fit, wear it. If it don't, right? You are dying. So let me ask you something, Beast Man. Is your Jesus here to rapture you away? Is your Jesus, let's see. Rapture. Act of carrying off, from Middle French rapture, from medieval Latin raptura, seizure, rape, kidnapping, from Latin raptus, a carrying off, abduction, snatching away, rape. Let's see rapt. Earliest attested use in English is of woman in 17th century. It sometimes meant rape, which word is a cognate of this sense of spiritual ecstasy, state of mental transport, first recorded 1600s raptures. So, y'all, Jesus is here to rapture you away. All right. Let's see. All right. So, anyways, so like I said, I'm talking to you, Beast Man, the monster, you. All right. It sucks to be you, don't it? Sucks to be you. Every time I think about the evil shit you have done to my ancestors and my people, the evil shit that you are doing to this very day, killing my people like dogs in the street, murdering our elders, poisoning our children, poisoning the sky with poisons, poisoning the water, poisoning the food. So I can't think of nobody that deserves this more than you, Beast Man. All praise and glory to the Most High. Hey, enjoy your slow death. All right, so y'all check out this video. This is Don Lemon doing an interview with a doctor, but check it out.
We have some breaking news. It's from Ohio, where CNN projects that voters will say no to legalizing recreational marijuana. It is an issue that came up in last week's presidential debate. Ohio Governor John Kasich says he doesn't favor it, and here's why.
Sending mixed signals to kids about drugs is a disaster. Drugs is one of the greatest scourge in this country. I've spent 5 years of my administration working with my team to do a whole sort of things to try to rein in the problem of overdoses.
Not overdoses.
A shocking new study says the problem of drug use, alcohol, and mental illness has gotten so severe that for the first time in any first world country, the death rate for white middle-aged people is on the rise while it's declining for blacks and Hispanics. It is a finding that stunned researchers and has implications for the election and the candidates on the campaign trail. Joining me now is Dr. Drew Pinsky. Dr. Drew is an addictionologist and host of HLN's The New Dr. Drew. Also here with me, Bob Beckel, CNN political commentator and author of I Should Be Dead, My Life Surviving Politics, TV, and Addiction. Now you see why we have you both here. But Dr. Drew, I want to start with you. For the first time, experts like you have known, for a long time, I should say, have known that there is a big problem out there with drugs and alcohol addiction and mental illness. We talk about it on your show and on this show all the time. But the numbers are still shocking. Why is this particular group of Americans struggling so much right now?
Well, there's 2 points you made. One is this is not a surprise to someone like me. I've been saying for anyone that will listen, that there's a tsunami coming of these kinds of problems.
Tsunami.
That the overprescribing of opiates and benzodiazepines, the inadvertent overdosing, the mental health issues around these phenomenon are staggering and absolutely commonplace. You add to that the economic stressors that people are experiencing, and those two together seem to be the alchemy necessary to create these staggering numbers. Precisely why this is happening and why so intensely has yet to be worked out. But I will tell you, the first culprit that I've been watching for the last 10 years has been the overprescribing of opiates.
Yeah, of opiates. We just had a conversation about that a couple weeks ago on here. We all know addiction and mental health know no racial boundaries, no age boundaries. But, it's white men, white women, age 45 to 54 with high school level education. The death rates are going up. The opposite for black and Hispanic Americans in that same age group. And a lot of that is because of prescription pain pills, as you've said. This age group prescribed prescription pain pills more than any other group?
It appears to be so. I mean, I've watched this age group
It
grow up
appears
and
to
get
be so.
older, and they were the leading edge of really a pandemic of childhood trauma and adverse childhood experiences. And as they reached adolescence, young adulthood, they looked for ways to regulate their emotions, and drugs and alcohol, and then ultimately pills, were what they were offered. In the African American and in the Black and the Hispanic community, they weren't having the same kind of access to the medical system. They weren't as likely to be prescribed. In fact, physicians, there's some suggestion, may have been somewhat recalcitrant to prescribing these substances to those groups.
Interesting. Bob, I want to turn to you because one of the authors of this study are economists, and one of them is named Angus Deaton. He just won the Nobel Prize for his work in health economics, and he says that it is also because of our economic stress that household incomes for this group have fallen since the 1990s. Income inequality has been a term that we have been using in this election season. If you take that into consideration, is it not unfair here? It's deadly, right?
Oh, sure it is. And, I mean, I'm a victim of it. I just came off of opiate addiction after a back operation, and I was out at a pain management center, and I watched people come in who'd never been addicted to anything, who had gone through operations and were prescribed opiates, and as a result of that, they got addicted. But I think the bigger point here is that if you look at this demographic, this group, first of all, they're the toughest ones to get clean. I mean, I've been clean of alcohol and drugs for 14 years.
Why are they the toughest to get clean?
Because they tend to be so sure of themselves, they know what they're doing. But in this case, you know what they call Oxycontin? They call it hillbilly heroin.
Hillbilly
it's
heroin
out in rural America, and doctors
Oxycontin.
do
Y'all
overprescribe
know
this
that?
stuff. Rural America, and doctors do overprescribe this stuff. And also drug dealers. I mean, I work with a lot of addicts and alcoholics, and I asked a drug dealer the other day
I'm
when I was
sorry,
going
hold
to
on.
a crack house and
Hold on, excuse me.
Oxycontin. They call it
Oxycontin.
hillbilly heroin, and it's rampant for themselves. They know what they're doing, but in this case, you know what they call Oxycontin? They call it hillbilly heroin.
Hillbilly
It's
heroin.
rampant out in rural America, and doctors do overprescribe this stuff. And also drug dealers. I mean, I work with a lot of addicts and alcoholics, and I asked a drug dealer the other day when I was going into a crack house to pull a kid out. I said, how you guys doing? Because I used to buy from these guys. And he said, well, we're doing great. We're not selling cocaine anymore. We're selling just opiates.
Heroin.
Go ahead, Dr. Drew.
Heroin. And what happens is that the doctors are finally getting the message they've been over-prescribing for the last 15 years. Look, I remember 10, 15 years ago when in Florida particularly, patients could walk into a pain management organization and look at a menu and select for themselves the particular opiates they wanted. Doctors were taking the position, who are you to say what pain is or whether the pain's under control? It was insane. So now they're getting the idea that they've been over-prescribing. They're taking these patients, they're looking at the patterns and going, oh my gosh, there's a problem here. You're a bad patient. I'm not going to prescribe to you anymore.
Yeah.
As opposed to bringing them in and said, we have a problem. You're an addict. I didn't intend to do this. Let's fix it. They cut them off. They go to the streets. That's where the heroin.
And that's where it happens. And
in.
listen, the candidates, we've been hearing a lot from the candidates about drug use and about drug rehabilitation, the crisis in America. Let's listen.
When I sat there as the governor of New Jersey at his funeral and looked across the pew at his three daughters sobbing because their dad is gone. There, but for the grace of God, go I. It can happen to anyone.
Look, I have some personal experience in this, just as a
And
dad.
it's happening to
and
you.
it is the most
Beast Man.
heartbreaking thing in
It's
the world
happening
to have to go
to
through.
I was struck by this statistic that last year, for the first time, we had more deaths by overdoses than we did by car crashes.
My husband Frank and I buried a child to drug addiction. So, we must invest more in the treatment of drugs.
So they're not just responding to what they're seeing in the media. They're responding. This is hitting home for a lot of them in their communities and in their own homes. They have to address it.
Listen, I don't know of anybody that doesn't somewhere or another can trace back a problem with addiction, whether it's alcoholism or drugs. But the interesting thing about this is this may be the first time where there's a bipartisan consensus where Democrats and Republicans have come to the conclusion that this is a very big problem. We're talking about millions of people. You're talking about millions of voters. The number of people affected by drug overdoses and the sale of opiates and heroin are enormous. And if you don't address it, you're not doing yourself any good as a candidate because it is a prevalent and a demanding issue.
Dr. Drew, we talked about the crack epidemic and and all the other epidemics that hit drug epidemics. Heroin, I think heroin mostly hits white communities. crack hit black communities especially hard. Are we finally past the point where people look at drugs as an urban problem, a problem for minorities or the inner cities or lower income people?
Oh, sure, we're there. This last weekend set of data that came out really brings that all the way home. This is white middle class men. That's who's dying right now. These guys are getting their hands on these drugs. They're getting excessively involved with them. And there's another issue here. A lot of people talking about treatment and what we ought to do, but no one is really talking about what that treatment ought to be. I'm a little surprised that Botticelli, who is the drug czar now, is coming out so strongly for drug replacement therapies. I mean, that's an option in treatment of opiate addiction, but that's becoming the only thing people are talking about. I think that's a shame. He's a recovering guy. He should be advocating for formal recovery as well.
Quickly,
Dr. Drew, the fact you mentioned early childhood trauma, and there should be a treatment set up around that. And in fact, a guy named Dr. Peter Preskoff at Betty Ford does non-medical, non-prescription work dealing with early childhood trauma, which manifests itself as pain later in their lives. And so
you're singing to the choir.
Yeah.
You're singing to the choir. I got to tell you, every patient I treat, I tell people, if you're bad enough, you need to see me. You had severe, significant childhood trauma, and that needs to be treated.
Thank you, Dr. Drew. Thank you, Bob Beckel.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate both of you.
Now, isn't it ironic? Not drug overdoses. Every time I think about them putting that garbage in our neighborhoods, all over the inner cities, all over the United States, the United Snakes, all that crack cocaine, all whatever, okay? All our people, all our brothers and sisters, friends and family members dying off that garbage that they created to kill us. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, beast man. How do you like it? How does it feel? How does it feel? Beast man, your time is nigh. So, just want to make it perfectly clear. You know, I personally don't think that any race of any people, it's bad. So I don't wish this on any good people. But it appears to me that, the things that we do throughout life, they seem to be nation curses. Like for us, for instance, our ancestors was doing some very, very bad things that our Creator didn't appreciate, and He cursed generations for that. All right? A lot of you familiar with it. We live in it, right? And, we also said, well, I didn't have nothing to do with it. I didn't do it, this, that, and the other, so on and so forth. So the whole nation went down, right? So it appears that that's what's happening to you, beast man, for all the evil you have done all over the world. Rape, mayhem, slaughter. I mean, your wrath, recompense, and retribution is way up there. So, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. But let's move on to the next one. Let's see. Then there was this one with Farrakhan, where he's giving statistics on the fertility rate. All right, this was back in 2013, but it was interesting to hear him put the share the information. So y'all check this one out, and then we're gonna move on. Let's see.
The only thing that might terrorize you, especially if you lied to the American people and deceived them. It might terrify you that someone is bold enough, courageous enough, fearless enough, righteous enough to stand up and tell the truth. And of course, any liar or deceiver is always terrorized with the presence of truth that manifests the lie and the liar. Let's listen to some of what is said by the narrator, and you can access the whole 9 minutes of this on YouTube or on their website. According to research, in order for a culture to maintain itself for more than 25 years, there must be a fertility rate of 2.11 children per family. With anything less, the culture will decline. Historically, they say, no culture has ever reversed a 1.9 fertility rate. A rate of 1.3 is impossible to reverse because it would take 80 to 100 years to correct itself. As of 2010, the narrator says, the fertility rate in France is 1.8. In England, 1.6. In Greece, 1.3. In Germany, 1.3. In Italy, 1.2. In Spain, 1.1. Across the entire European Union of 31 countries, the fertility rate is a mere 1.4. Historical research tells us these numbers, according to this narrator, are impossible to reverse. He says, in a matter of years, Europe as we know it will cease to exist. Yet the population of the earth is not declining. Why? They answer, Islamic immigration. Of all population growth in Europe since 1990, 90% has been Islamic immigration. France fertility rate 1.8 per family. Muslim fertility rate per family 8.1. In southern France, traditionally one of the most populated church regions in the world, there are now more mosques than churches. In just 37 years, France will be an Islamic republic, according to this narrator and their research. In the last 30 years, the Muslim population of Great Britain rose from 82,000 to 2.5 million, a 30-fold increase. There are over 1,000 mosques, many of them former churches. In the Netherlands, 50% of all newborns are Muslims. And in only 15 years, half of the population of the Netherlands will be Muslims. In Russia, there are over 23 million Muslims. That is 1 out of 5 Russians. 40% of the entire Russian army will be Islamic in just a few short years. Currently in Belgium, 25% of the population and 50% of all newborns are Muslims. The government of Belgium has stated that 1/3 of all European children will be born to Muslim families. by 2025, just 15 years away. The German government has said that the fall of the German population can no longer be stopped. Its downward spiral is no longer reversible. It will be a Muslim state by the year 2050. There are 52 million Muslims in Europe today, and that number is expected to double in the next 20 years to 104 million. Closer to home, the narrator says the numbers tell a similar story. Canada's fertility rate is 1.6, nearly a full point below what is required to maintain and sustain a culture. And Islam in Canada is the fastest growing religion. Between 2001 and 2006, Canada's population increased by 1.6 million, 1.2 million of those by Islamic immigration. In the United States, the current fertility rate of American citizens is 1.6. But the influx of Latino nations, the rate increases to 2.11, the bare minimum required to sustain a culture. In 1970, the narrator says, there were 100,000 Muslims in America, and today there are over 9 million. Muammar Gaddafi said, quote, there are signs that Allah will grant victory to Islam in Europe without swords, without guns, without conquests. We don't need terrorists. We don't need homicide bombers, suicide bombers. The 50+ million Muslims in Europe will turn it into a Muslim continent within a few decades. This is like a warning to white people to get ready for a change that they are not in control of. And according to this video, 2 to 2.1, down to 1.8 live births means that in 25 years, there will be a cultural change. But will you, as a white person, be able to survive? But once your birth rate goes to 1.6 and under, it is impossible to reverse. What is expressed in this video bears witness to what the Bible says, that their womb would be cursed and their land would be cursed. So we see the fruit of their womb is. And if this is true, within 100 years, white people may be non-existent on our planet. On April 9th, 1990, there was a cover of Time magazine which asks the question, what will the United States be like when whites are no longer the majority? And then it states, America's changing colors. Inside, there's an article written by William A. Henry III entitled Beyond the Melting Pot, which states, quote, someday soon, surely much sooner than most people who filled out their census forms last week realized, white Americans will become minority group. If current trends in immigration and birth rates persist, the Hispanic population will have further increased an estimated 21%. The Asian presence about 22%, blacks almost 12%, and whites a little more than 2% when the 20th century ends. By 2020, a date no further into the future than John F. Kennedy's election is in the past, that number of U.S. residents who are Hispanic or non-white will have more than doubled to nearly 115 million, while the white population will not be increasing at all. By 2056, when someone born today will be 66 years old, the average U.S. resident, as defined by census statistics, will trace his or her descent to Africa, Asia, the Hispanic world, the Pacific Islands, Arabia, almost anywhere but white Europe. The Browning of America offers tremendous opportunity for capitalizing anew on the merits of many peoples from many lands. Yet this fundamental change in the ethnic makeup of the United States also poses risks. The American character is resilient and thrives on change, but past periods of rapid evolution have also, alas, brought out deeper, more fearful aspects of the national soul. In the Holy Quran, in the 3rd chapter, the 19th verse, it reads, "Surely the true religion with Allah is Islam. And those who were given the book differed only after knowledge had come to them out of envy among themselves. And whoever disbelieves in the messages of Allah, Allah indeed is quick at reckoning." In chapter 9, the 33rd verse, it reads, "He it is who has sent his messenger with the guidance and the true religion, that he may make it prevail over all religions, though the polytheists are averse." In the 3rd chapter, the 85th verse, "And whoever seeks a religion other than Islam, it will not be accepted from him, and in the hereafter he will be one of the losers." And in the 5th chapter, the 3rd verse, Allah says in the Quran, "This day have I perfected for you your religion, and completed my favor on you, and chosen for you Islam as a religion." These are scriptures that back up what the narrator of this video was saying. And this is showing why there is so much Islamophobia in the West, which takes us back to 9/11 and the truth tellers that say it indeed was a false flag operation that was designed to create hatred for Islam and Muslims and to stop the growth of Islam in America as well as
I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right
Western
there, because
Europe. These,
I personally, I'm about hey. You know, of course, that was Minister Louis Farrakhan's point of view from a Islam standpoint. And of course, my disclaimer is that I don't agree with the whole black and white, and but at the end of the day, Beast Man, you get the idea. Your time is nigh. Your arms too short to box with the Most High. This you, beast man. You trying to throw blows in the Most High. Where's your Jesus at, beast man? Where is your Jesus? Where's he at? Where is he, beast man? The Most High say, you know, I kill, I heal, I wound, I give life. I, the Most High Hair, do all these things. When I act, who can reverse it? Huh, beast man? So again, I say, I know it sounds insensitive, but that's all right. When I think about all the evil, no good, low down, dirty, scandalous, monstrous, just evil shit you have done to my ancestors and my people all over the world, all I can simply say is, all praise and glory to the Most High Hater. Enjoy the remainder of your time on the earth, beast man. Enjoy the remainder of your time. Like I said, I can't think of no one else who deserves it more than you. All your money. I ain't got that much money. All your money, beast man. All your fiat currency can't save you. All the stolen land, all the stolen resources, none of that is going to be able to save you. Your ship is sinking. Your planes are crashing and burning. Boom. Enjoy the remainder of your time, beast man. Enjoy the remainder of your time. Take care. Hey, hey! Okay, I'm back. All right, so I just had to get that off my chest. Again, you know, it's hard not to think about all the things that has happened to our nation and all the evil, you know. So I know a lot of you probably like, man, that was kind of, but hey, it is what it is. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. It just seems like all the stuff that they have done to us, our ancestors, so on and so forth, it's just coming right back around like it should, right? So, but we're going to move on. Y'all get the idea. It's something serious going on, and, Most High handling that business. Anyways, all right. So, right now, so we're going to get into a little bit in the Zondervans Pictorial Bible Dictionary. Okay, like I said, remember this was copywritten first print 1963. All right. I'm going to start off with Christmas. All right, so let me read Jeremiah 10, 1 through 5. Jeremiah chapter 10, 1 through 5. And I'm going to read two different versions so you can see what they did. So this version is 1599 Geneva Bible. Not quite sure when. I'm just going to assume it was 1599. I'm not sure, but I'm going to, I don't know what the 1599 means, but I'm going to show you the difference. All right. So, the constellation of the stars are not to be feared. The weakness of the idols, of the power of God, their pastors are become brute beasts. Hear ye the word of the Most High that he speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus said the Most High Hair, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not afraid for the signs of the heaven, though the heathen be afraid of such. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, which is the work of the hands of the carpenter with the axe, and another decketh it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and hammers, that it not fall. The idols stand up as the palm tree, but speak not. They are born because they cannot go. Fear them not, for they cannot do evil, neither can they do good. Y'all, second to look at that. All right. Now I'm gonna go to. Let's see. I'll go to. We'll do King James version, right? Where's that? Where's that? Uh-oh. Let's see. King James version, New International Version. Let's see. Do they have 1611 in here? I have my 1611, but I got it put away. So I'll just do the New King James Version. All right. And the reason why I want to touch on this is because Sister Tanya Moore, that is her YouTube channel is Israel Redemption. She did a video. She put a video together giving an explanation on what the representation, and it was very interesting. If you haven't saw that video on her channel, you should check that out. What the representation of the Christmas tree and the garland, here we go, is about. So let me read this while this is still fresh. Okay, so Jeremiah chapter 10, 1 through 5. Now this is New King James Version. All right. Hear the word which the Most High speaks to you, O house of Israel. Thus says the Lord. Do not learn the way of the Gentiles. Oh, this is interesting because, all right, excuse me. Do not learn the way of the Gentiles. Do not be dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the Gentiles are dismayed at them, for the customs of the people are futile. For one cuts a tree from the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They decorate it with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails and hammers, so that it will not topple. They are upright like a palm tree, and they cannot speak. They must be carried, because they cannot go by themselves. Do not be afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, nor can they do any good. All right. That's interesting because now you see how they changed the words. Because, let me see, I had earlier, let's see. Let's see the English Standard Angelicized. But anyway, excuse me. Israel Redemption did a video where she explains, okay, so at the top of the Christmas tree, you either put a star or an angel, right? And they're used interchangeably, right? We know the stars as angels, angels as stars. And so basically the representation is that you're worshiping the fallen angels, all right? The way the video explained it is that the garland and the Christmas balls, whatever you call those, they represent the DNA. Damn. Excuse me. Excuse me. The garland and the balls, they represent the DNA strand, right? On the Christmas tree. And of course, at the top of the Christmas tree, what? You don't even put your so-called Isus, you put a star or an angel. And at the bottom, of course, you got your gifts. So basically, what you're doing is bowing down, worshiping the fallen angel, and you're receiving your gifts from them. All right. So again, check that video out. It's on her YouTube channel, Israel Redemption. I just click on her videos and look for it. And that was quite interesting. But okay, so here we go. Now you see how they changed this. Again, I'm gonna read Jeremiah 10, chapter 10, 1 through 5. Learn not the way of the nations. See how they changed this. Nor be dismayed at the signs of the heavens, because the nations are dismayed at them. For the customs of the peoples are vanity. A tree from the forest is cut down and worked with the axe by the hands of craftsmen. They decorate it with silver and gold. They fasten it with hammer and nails so that it cannot move. The idols are like scarecrows in a cucumber field, and they cannot speak, and they have to be carried, for they cannot walk. Do not be afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither is it them to do good. So they changed. They went from heathen, Gentiles, to nations. And we know what the Most High says about the Gentiles and the heathens. We are not supposed to do as the Gentiles and the heathens do. We know who the Gentiles and the heathens are, right? You already know who they are. And we are not supposed to follow their customs. Okay? Now, here is information on Christmas. All right? You're not going to be able to read it, but I just want to show you. I got it highlighted. Okay. Christmas, the anniversary of the birth of Christ and its observance, celebrated by most Pentecost and by Roman Catholics on December 25th, by Eastern Orthodox churches on January 6th, and by the Armenian Church on January 19th. Let me read that again. You see, they're celebrating it on different days. And yet, a lot of you are under the impression, or you have been misled to believe, that this is the celebration of so-called Jesus Christ's birthday. So, the anniversary of the birth of Christ and its observance, celebrated by most Pentecost and by Roman Catholics on December 25th, by Eastern Orthodox churches on January 6th, and by the Armenian Church on January 19th. The first mention of its observance on December 25th is in the time of, who else? Constantine, about 325 AD. Now, y'all remember what King Drop said about the whole AD and BC thing, right? All right. The date of the birth of Christ is not known. The word Christmas is formed of Christ plus Mass, meaning a Mass of religious service in commemoration of the birth of Christ. Whether the early Christians thought of or observed Christmas is not clear. Once introduced, the observance spread throughout Christendom. Some Christian bodies disapprove of the festival. Many customs of pagan origin have become part of Christmas. Example, the Christmas tree. But most of these no longer have a heathen connotation, but have acquired a Christian meaning. And you just read for yourself, as I read, that the heathens, the Gentiles, and they changed it to nations, but what we are not supposed to do as the heathen or Gentiles do. All right. But have acquired a Christian meaning. Example, use of gifts. A commemoration of the birth of Christ in harmonious keeping with the events surrounding the birth. Now, if you don't know the birth of this supposed Jesus, then how you going to celebrate something you don't know? Now, my question would be this, of course, is if you claim you're celebrating Jesus, why you putting angels at the top of the tree? You see? Why you not putting Jesus at the top of the tree? Okay? I mean, it's a valid question, isn't it? But like I said, go to Israel Redemption's channel, and like I said, she did that video, and she explains basically what you're doing is worshiping according to this scripture here, cutting down the tree, decking it with silver and gold. Clearly, you know that's a celebration of Christmas, or a celebration of some pagan form of what we know to be Christmas now. And basically, you're just worshiping fallen angels. That's who is at the top of the tree. If this was supposed to be something of the Most High, of God, or whatever the case may be, well, why wouldn't he be at the top of the tree? When you go back to, let's see, learn not the way of the nations, nor be dismayed at the signs in heaven, because the nations are dismayed at them. For the custom. Now, you see how they, okay, so look at that. Now we're going to go back to The 1599. Where you at? Where you at? 15. Excuse me. Geneva Bible. Where you at? There you go. Excuse me, I should have been better prepared. I apologize. Come on. Now my Wi-Fi, now my hotspot want to act up. Oh, man, come on. See that? See that? All right. Now, here we go. The constellation of the stars are not to be feared. The weakness of the idols of the power of God. All right. So, we'll go back to the New King James Version. So I'm not. All right. All right. See how they changed these things? So, in the Geneva Bible, it starts off with, you're not supposed to be fearing, worshiping the constellations. The luminaries, the moon, the sun, but more so the angels. And again, when you check out Tanya Moore, Israel Redemption's video, that's what she's explaining, that this celebration of Christmas, as far as the Christmas tree is concerned, is the worship of fallen angels. Again, you're not putting nothing that represents the Most High at the top of the tree. You're not even putting your so-called Isus at the top of the tree. You putting angels at the top of the tree, and you bowing down and worshiping them. All right, so do your own research on that. At the end of the day, do not do as the heathen and the Gentiles do. Thus said the Most High, hey, hey. All right? So that's Christmas. So I'm going to dig into this Ham, Japheth, and Shem next. All right?
I apologize. I ran out of disk space. Here is Japheth genealogy, explaining who the Gentiles are. We'll have to make another part to this video. Genesis 101,599 Geneva Bible, GNV. 10:1 The increase of mankind by Noah and his sons. 10 The beginning of cities, countries, and nations. 1 Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham and Japheth, unto whom sons were born after the flood. 2 The sons of Japheth were Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tiras. 3 And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Riphath, and Togarmah. 4 Also the sons of Javan, Elisha and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. 5 Of these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, every man after his tongue, and after their families and their nations.